Good morning, everyone. How's it going today? So, just letting everybody know, yesterday I took two trades. It's Wednesday, 7:30. I'm looking at the markets now. Yesterday we took two trades. We took the euro dollar and the CAD yen. And so now I'm halfway through the challenge, the trading challenge. I'm halfway through, so pretty excited about it. So far, the first half has been successful, but you know what? We're not done yet. We're not out of the woods. So I'm hoping that the first half will be as successful, or the second half will be as successful as the first half, but nobody really knows what's going to happen, right? I don't. I'm hoping. I'm going to plan it and trade it, and we'll see what happens. Right now, we take a look at this euro. It's actually looking on the price action. The current price action is going against me right now. It's moving back up. I'm currently up about 1,500 on this trade. Currently up 30 pips. So I'm over a 1-to-1 risk to reward ratio. If we analyze this a little bit by drilling down to a lower time frame, this is euro dollar. You can see at one point yesterday we were up about 98 points. 98 points. And as a matter of fact, I was only 40 points away from my target. So I was actually at 98. Let's just do the math here. I had a 24 pip stop, 22 pip stop, and I was up 90. So that's actually about a 4-to-1. And 4-to-1 risk to reward ratio is fantastic. I could have probably pulled the trigger on it and been happy at a 4-to-1. That's pretty good. But I'm just trying to hang in there. So at this point, with the current price action moving up, and if you look at this MACD here, it's negative, and it's moving to the green side, plus it's crossing above these moving averages. This is actually even a potential long trade I might take. I'm going to go ahead and move my stop, okay? And I'm going to move it just about here, where I can, it's just less than a break even. And the reason I'm doing that is because if you look at the daily is above this candle. So at this point, if I can stay below that, I'm still good. On the 4-hour, if you look at the 4-hour, we got positive price action. It's still inside this little range here, and we still have the MACD going down. The arrows are pointing down. So this is still a very real possibility that this trade could hit. We could get some resistance up in here. We could see the price get pushed back down. But I don't want to risk any more than I already have to, because I've already been able to get a decent price action in my favor on this, which has been pretty good. So hopefully this has been educational for everybody. As I said, this is for educational purposes only, but if you were taking trades like this, you can trade it however you want. You could go to the 4-to-1, you could go to the 3-to-1, you can go for 2-to-1, whatever it is that fits your planning and strategy. I like the 5-to-1 because then I can when I get a hit, I can build up a nice cushion, and I don't have to be as active managing the trade all the time. That's what I've decided I like, but everybody has different things that they can trade. And so what I was thinking right now was looking at that CAD yen again. If you guys remember yesterday, we did lose that trade. The entry was yesterday at the same time that we took the euro dollar, and it just went straight down here and ended up being a loser. However, it's been stabilizing, and it's been going flat. And if we look at the daily again and see if I had that channel that I had drawn before, you could see, remember I had a little channel here. It's still bouncing off of that level. You see that? And it hasn't And so if I get some more positive price action, I'd be willing to try it one more time. I probably wouldn't try it more than once. If you remember, I did a New Zealand trade early in the challenge where it was a channel trade and I lost twice. And so that I'll give it two potential tries. Won't go for the third one. One thing I will look at on this trade is we have this trend line. And I like looking at trend lines like this because when you're in a strong downtrend, if you just draw your trend lines like that, you see this trend line. When you get a trend line break, it could be a very nice trade. Like, for example, this one went 600 pips. Right, here's another trend line right here. You just get these trend line breaks in the direction of the current trend. Many times works really good. So that would be another option here as well, would be to take a short here if we get a trend line break. Because what could happen then is if the price breaks through this trend line and then continues to break this channel, we could see a lot further downward movement, which is pretty exciting to see when you can get a trade that gets the momentum and breaks. But right now, I'm still thinking about a long because we just have been, we popped above this, it's been holding, and you see that it's getting higher highs and lower lows. Look, so here's what I'm looking at. This is exactly how I caught that big euro dollar move back on trade one, is I was finding higher highs and lower lows. So we got a lower low, a lower low, a lower low. Okay, now I did lose the trade. If I would have had a bigger stop loss, I would not have lost that trade. But I like to keep my stop losses tight because of the whole risk to reward factor. If I was trading a daily time frame and I didn't mind putting 150 pips stop because I'm trying to target like 900 pips, well, then that would be fine. But for me, I like to target a little bit less pips and still get the bigger risk to reward. So I like to keep my stop loss tight. Our stop loss tight. So John says that he likes the small time frame. I like small time frames too. I like getting in there, and there's a payoff, just like everything else. There's always a trade-off. Nothing is ever perfect. I can't say, oh, small time frames are going to be perfect, because they're not. It does give you an ability. So I'd say the bonus on a small time frame is that it gives you the ability to hit bigger risk to reward trades in a shorter period of time. It also allows you to increase your size. So those are two benefits of shorter time frames. One of the downfalls and the drawbacks is that because it's tighter, you're going to potentially get whipsawed a little bit more. The market can take you out and then end up going in your direction a little easier than if it was a longer time frame. Like, if, for example, this CAD yen, I took this yesterday, and it ended up dropping and stopping me out. If I would have been using a bigger time frame, I'd still be in the trade. So right now it's currently dropping. So I'm definitely not in position to make a trade at this point. However, while I'm continuing to do some analysis, if it does pop back up above this moving average again on a 15-minute time frame, I would definitely consider taking this trade. But let's go ahead. I didn't get a chance. It's kind of, I'll tell you a little funny story. I showed up. Okay, so I work from an office because I have 9 kids, and so I can't work from home. I could work from home, but I would never get anything done ever because, with all the 9 kids, it just wouldn't happen. So I work from an office. Well, yesterday, so this is my excuse for not having my charts ready. So I'm a guy that believes in getting it done, risk excuses or not. So I'm not really excusing myself, but I didn't get a chance to set it up because yesterday I had to take my car in to get some repairs done. And then so then I gave my keys to the car dealer, right? So this morning I get into my office because I was taking my wife's car. I had my wife's keys. I couldn't get into the building because it was locked. And normally I would just unlock it, but now I had to wait for everybody else to get here. So I couldn't get everything ready on time. So that's why I don't have the charts done. Usually I have it done ahead of time. Okay, so let's take a look at the pound dollar because I like that. Yesterday I was thinking about a short position on this. Looks like it would have been a decent trade. I just couldn't get in on time. Again, definitely still thinking about short. You see it pop down. Let's see what we look at in lower time frame. It is actually it is currently moving down. We have a downward trend. We've got the MACD lowering on the 4 hour. The MACD is lowering on the 4 hour as well. So this pound dollar could definitely be one that we'd be interested in taking. It's actually just closed below this one right here. The only thing that kind of gets me a little bit is it's a pretty decent sized stop loss at this point. I would have to legitimately take this trade, I'd have to be at a 65 pips. And so to do that, let's see, I'm just going to look at targeting. So if I was going to target, I'd probably target the bottom of this range. And would this give me enough? So I'd probably go for about a 250 pip target. So let's pull up the calculator because I am absolutely horrible at math. But we just do two. So if our stop loss was, what did I say it was? Let's go back to the 15-minute. So my stop loss is going to be 70 times 4 is 280. So I could only, there's a 250 pip target, so that's a 3-to-1, and I can live with that if I have to. I can live with a 3-to-1 risk to reward. So that's doable. Let's take a look at some other ones. Let's take a look at the pound yen. And this was a trade I made earlier, was really good. Earlier, it was last week. What's the pound yen? So we got a downtrend. It's moving down. We've been consolidating in this range a little bit. It's trying to get some more downward momentum. Again, this stop loss would be pretty big also. This stop loss would be 120 pips. And we know the pound yen moves really well. So it could easily, if I did 120 pips, I need to target 500. Could it make 500 pips? It could. It could go back all the way down here, which would be about 1,700. So I'd have to target a very aggressive target on this, which would be all the way down here. I'd have to really be aggressive on the target. Okay, so let's see. So my preference is definitely smaller time frame, if that's what you're asking there, John. And good morning, Mudaga. Yes, I do have a big family. It's a wonderful blessing for sure. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back to that pound dollar. Let's see what we got there. Let me look at the U.S. yen as well. U.S. yen looks very similar to the pound yen. And kind of the CAD yen. So the yen pairs look very similar. Let's look at this on a 15-minute. So same thing moving down. We have this big, strong move down. It's currently bouncing. So the question is going to remain, is it going to continue the drop or is it going to bounce? And we don't really know, but we're just going to try to play the price action. We have a downward trend line here. So in this scenario on the USD yen, if this trend line breaks, it could really go again back to these previous lows, right? So these previous lows are down here. We could see a move that goes down there. Let's see what we're looking at. I like to bounce around, just get different views. We're currently into a resistance point here. We've been kind of pushing and fighting. We are above the 50 period moving average as well, which a lot of times will coincide with these trend lines. So we could see the price stall at this 50 and stall at this trend line and then bounce and continue up, going up. Right, so there's always multiple scenarios when you're taking a trade, and so I want to get everybody in the habit of thinking of the multiple scenarios, thinking of different possibilities of what can happen with their trading. So it's just really important that you realize that when you take a trade, you have no idea what's going to happen. And the way I look at it is, once I'm in a trade, I absolutely believe that there's a 50-50 chance of winning. Once I push that trade button, I truly believe that it's 50-50. And the only edge that I have in the market once I'm in a trade is my trade management, and that is the patience to hold off for bigger wins and allowing my trade to go further. And the more that the trade will move further in my direction, the better I'm going to be as a trader successfully. It's just by getting allowing the market to move in my direction. So the pound currently is dropping below this here, and we currently have this going. Let me check this CAD yen one more time. The CAD yen is right now out of play. The US yen is not in position. So I'm going to go with this pound dollar trade, and so I'm going to calculate it at about a 70 pip stop here. Let's take a look one more time at an hourly. The hourly is got nice price action moving down, and so that's what I'm going to be calculating. So let's go ahead. I don't know if I showed you the spreadsheet from yesterday. My CAD yen, I ended up losing 171 on the trade, which is nice. It was a little smaller, so that was fine. And then now I'm going to do trade number 11. We're halfway through it. The euro dollar is currently still open. And I'm going with the pound USD trade here. And my target, I don't know what the target number is going to be. I'm going to try to risk 1,000. So let's do the pip value on this. GBP USD pip value. So it's $10 a pip for a lot. Okay, so right off the bat, we know that if my stop loss is going to be 70 pips, that means it's $700. Plus, we have to calculate the commissions in there. So it's about $700. And I'm trying to risk 1,000. So we're going to take this. Let's get our calculator. And let's just see what 1.3. So that would be $13 a pip times 70 is 910. So I'm going to go ahead and do a 1.3, which is a little smaller than what I like. But we got a bigger risk to reward here. So I'm just going to go ahead and take this trade on a sell. Okay, so we got that. And we have the I got it right at 69 pips. So my actual risk is $897 at 69. And let's drop this down to a daily. I want to go ahead and target this level here. So my target's going to be a little bit smaller, about 350 pips. But that's just the way it is sometimes. You can't always get the perfect trade setup that you want. I could probably be a little more patient, wait for this to come back up, and then enter on a 5-minute time frame. That's one thing that is always available to you if you're trying to get a better risk to reward, is to be patient and wait for a better time frame. But I'm doing a live challenge, and I am doing these 20 trades live in front of you, and so this is not totally how I would normally trade. This is just educational purposes for examples, to show you, to give you an idea of how to set a series of trades that's going to win. Normally, I would be a little more patient and I would wait for the setup to come to me, But in the situation that I have to take the trade while I'm live, right now I've been live for 20 minutes, and so since I have to wait for the entry to do what I want it to do, my trade options and my patience has not been as good. So we've got our trade set. 69 pips is the risk, and 250 is the target. Let's go back to the euro dollar. I currently have 1.3 pips at risk. It's just $52. And so I've got 142 is the target. So the good news about this one is that I currently am in a position where I have a tremendous risk to reward. My risk is 50 and my reward is 5,000. So my risk to reward on this is beyond comprehension. I can't even do the math on it. And so, so yeah, that's just how it's got to be right now. I can't do the math. The risk to reward's so high. And that's what's good about having a positive risk to reward like that. And so hopefully we'll get some resistance here. This will pop back down. We'll continue the trend. But at this point, I have no idea. But either way, I'm pretty excited about this position just because I basically have no risk on it. And normally I don't take the time to do these reviews, but I have a few extra minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. Remember, this is for educational purposes only, and not telling anybody what to do, but I'm just taking a look. So this gold position here is let's see what we got. Very big uptrend right now. Look at this uptrend. Boom, boom, boom. Personally, I probably wouldn't buy this right now just because it's kind of very high on the MACD. It has pulled back on the hourly, so you could definitely, you never know how far a trend was going. Look, it's crossing on the MACD, it's crossing on the 50, and we have a little bit of a trend line thing happening here where it's breaking this trend line. So it would follow my rules for a trade, absolutely. You just got to realize that on the daily, it's very much overextended, and there's some divergence, right? And so the price keeps hitting new highs, and that means it could reject. But again, we don't know what's going to happen. So if a trade setup's happening, just follow it. Don't worry about much other than, your setup. So again, it's all about your trade management. Once you enter a trade, it's a 50-50 scenario. You're either going to win or lose. Anything can happen. We don't know what's going to happen. Hey, Reddy, thanks for stopping in. And so today, I'm just looking at my euro trade that is currently up about $1,500. Hopefully, we'll get some more momentum. I was up at 4-1 at one point, which was awesome. Should have maybe tightened it a little bit, but I didn't. I'm now in a position where I'm just going to try to get as much as I can out of this trade. Hopefully, it comes back down and hits my target. It'll be 5-1. I'm going to be as patient as possible. But if I get, you can see on this hourly, we're staying below this. So if it can stay below this and we get another pop down, I might lock in a 1-1. So what that would mean, since we had a 30 pip stop loss initially, I might lock in 30 pips if it goes back down. If it can break these lows here, I'm going to go ahead and then lock in 30. So if we get down here and it breaks these lows, I'm going to lock in 30 points, and then I'll be either getting a 1-1 or 5-1, which of course we would rather get the 5-1, but just trade management. You never know what's going to happen. Let me look at the spreadsheet one more time, make sure that's totally up to date. Let's see here. So trades to go in the challenge. Actually, we just did trade number 11, so we got 9 left. I'm up 5,400, so I can lose 5.4 in a row and still break even. So I can lose 5 out of 9, which is pretty good, and still be make money. If I continue at this pace, I'll be at 15,860 at the end of 20 trades. Let me see if that's still accurate. The way I do that, well, that won't totally be settled because I actually have 2 open trades right now. I've got this euro dollar trade and the pound trade that's open. And my target, I didn't fill in the target on that. Let's fill in the target on the pound dollar. The target on the pound dollar is 3,260. It's exactly at a 3-to-1. I just didn't have the room that the other one had. This could still end up bigger if I end up getting a lot of good momentum on the trade and it starts rocketing down. Sometimes I'll expand the stop loss. I'll expand the target. Like if we remember on my first trade, I hit my original target was 5,000. I ended up getting 6 because I expanded it. So right now my winning percentage is 33%. And if I hit 9 trades, what's 33% of 9? That's about 3 winners. So on average, I'd get about 3 more winners, and we'll see what we're at the end. But this is where we're at right now. I added a profit graph in here so you can kind of see where my profit goes. It's kind of interesting. Most of my profit was hit right on my very first trade. And so that's the way it goes sometimes. Sometimes you'll just go flat for quite some time until you really get a big winner. That's what I really like to do. Okay, so that was it. We're on trade 11, 9 trades to go. Guys, thanks a lot, and I wish everyone the best today. Please leave a comment if you have any questions. Like the video. And don't forget to subscribe so you can see what happens in the challenge, and so you can get the updates, and so you can learn how to trade yourself this type of way. Remember, this is all for educational purposes. No trade recommendations at all happened during this training. It's all education only. And thanks, everyone, and have a great day.